Yeah, in recent time, you must have been hearing about the North and West Alliance of 1967. Or at times you just see 1967 Alliance. Now let's explain. The Nigeria, there was an offshore criminal enterprise of the British Crown, operated in joint venture with the Caliphate, that's the Sharia North. When things began to go in the direction of a challenge from the rest of the country, from the southern part of the country, it had to reinforce itself with some kind of a disguise, something that now presents that Fulani hegemony as Nigeria, federal government of Nigeria. And these things happened, that deployment of that alliance as a mask by which the Fulani pretend to be federal government of Nigeria happened in the period that Eastern Nigeria came under genocide, particularly from 1967. In fact, it began in 1966. July 29, 1966 was when, in some vengeance, in some revenge of for what happened in January, where middle rank officers who were looking out for their country attempted to stop the politicians from what they were doing at the time. And so Britain and their joint venture partners in Caliphate North turned the whole situation upside down to now make it look like it is it was an Igbo plan. Igbo decided to come and kill off everybody else to own Nigeria. No, everybody knows the truth. Some of those truths have forced themselves into the arena. But back to the alliance that had to be created in that period to enable the Fulani and their British sponsors operate in the name of Nigeria. The Nigeria that was agreed in Lancaster House 1959 was a federation. But when that federation was decapitated in the middle of 1966, those who, the caliphate that seized the carcass had to pretend it was still Nigeria. And so they had to, co-opt some renegades from the southwest, Yoruba land. And so, in order to make the picture complete, they also had to go to the coastal area in eastern region to bring people who will stand with them. If you check what has happened across the last 55 years in Nigeria, almost 56 years, you will see a clear pattern of that alliance of 1967, the North and the Southwest, spiced up by renegade elements from what we call the Niger Delta today, the coastal areas of eastern Nigeria. The reason we are making this broadcast now, if we take our bearings from the broadcast titled Nigeria, the Pyramid of Evil, we will see the ownership structure, the control organogram of Nigeria. But from 1966, that caliphate that was operating alone with their British joint venture partners, the Nigeria that was sold to us in 1960, now had to deploy an extra layer of pretense by bringing people from other parts, particularly Yoruba land and the coastal area of eastern Nigeria, to hold hands to operate the unitary Nigeria that we have now. Because in that setting, the control is in the hand of what we call the federal government. At the time, the federation had died since 1966. The Federation of Nigeria died in the middle of 1966, and then the people who hijacked the carcass have been able to operate it in a unitary form, which they have now, codified in form of constitution. And so it is that making it look like it is the whole of Nigeria moving that brought in. We saw the role Akintola played with Ahmadu Bello. We saw the role Awolowo had to come into play with Gowon. Put all of them on the map of Nigeria, so you can see a clear pattern of north and west. And then you look at the coastal area of eastern region, you begin to see characters like D.H. Spiff. We saw the one dancing around in Abuja the other day, where a member of that alliance had now been coronated president of Nigeria outside the stipulation of law, Bola Tinubu. And when Tinubu said a Milokan, he wasn't talking about the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. He was talking about that alliance of the north and the west. Of course, we always make the distinction that is the renegade wing of the west that cooperates with that north, playing the role of Afoja all over again. Tinubu is in that saddle now. Obasanjo was in that saddle for a long time. For some strange reason, Awolowo that was clear-minded. Also, till this date, one cannot fathom, when you look at his viewpoints, all the time Nigeria was being put together to the point of independence, he was clear-minded on the fact that we were not one. He said Nigeria was a mere geographical expression and that we had to build it to become our project. Why did he then become available to join the obdurate Gowonian task of keeping Nigeria one with violence, with force, with brigandage, with bloodshed? Gowon from this side, Awolowo from the other side. You come to 1975 when Murtala Mohammed from the upper part, from the caliphate, overthrew the Gowon. Obasanjo, chief of staff. You come to the end of Murtala Mohammed in the hands of Dinka in February of 1976. Obasanjo becomes head, Shehu Yaradua, chief of staff. We already have seen 4 cycles of north, southwest, renegade elements. We come from there. We saw when Buhari came, Buhari from that side, Idiagbon, Yoruba, north, southwest, federal Nigeria, federal in quote. We come from there, Uganda, you saw the kinds of, apart from Ukiwe that in no time at all stormed out of the evil gathering when Bangida surreptitiously, registered Nigeria into the OIC, Organization of Islamic States. Bangida took Nigeria into OIC without consulting anybody, and his second in command said, why would that be? How will I explain my presence here if I am not to be told? He resigned and left the government. Then look at all the people that replaced him. Then Abacha comes, you saw the idea. Just put them on the map and you will see a consistent pattern. We came back to 1999, Obasanjo comes back, Atiku from Yaradua's circle. North, southwest. Southwest, north. Therefore, you saw when Buhari came, Oshibajo. And then Tinubu that organized the ceremony in 2015 come to say, look, in this, for you to understand the meaning of a Miloka, it's not because, it's not what he did in his party or the 6 geopolitical zone that has to rotate. He was talking about that North and Southwest alliance. They take their turns at power, one hand over to the other and then back to the other. Everything that happens in between are just providential interventions. We saw how Jonathan came. We saw the effort. We saw the concerted effort to make sure that that stranger from conquered territory does not come to government house. And so we are back to where they are all carrying on today as if the rest of Nigeria, especially in the eastern flank, does not matter. You lock down the eastern economic corridor. This same body of water that runs in Lagos goes all the way to Port Harcourt, Calabar, Oron. This same Atlantic water. You lock down the eastern economic corridor. You force the people of the east, broke down their infrastructure, borrowing money against their assets from everywhere, but the assets, the infrastructure being built not to touch their area, and you think they are all blind not to see. Then the ones that came to Lagos are being treated as people who have no homeland, killed at will, and it's all looking good. For those who think they are so smart that nobody knows what they are doing, you sell 3 million barrels of crude oil you take from eastern half of southern Nigeria, the lower Niger, and instead of going to address the issues being raised about the ownership and control structures, which the constitution, turned upside down, such that the oil of Bayelsa now belongs to Jigawa under your imposed constitution. You don't want to address that. Every now and then you go to Ampadek to create some kind of stupidity that will pretend that you are now addressing the issue. Look at the kind of NDDC business that have been done. That's a message to the Niger Delta. Now you say you are going to do amnesty when young people begin to say, why is this so? Consider, juxtapose the amount of money that Nigeria makes from the 3 million barrels of crude oil it takes every day. I'm not talking about gas and other things. With how much money they bribe, because it boils down to bribe when you select a few who are already making trouble and stuff their mouth with money. The other day you say you restore Tombolo's 4 billion a month. It sounds like a lot of money. Convert 4 billion naira to dollars and then compare with, let's even take 2 million barrels as what Nigeria is selling. Let's not go to the 3, because I was in the industry to tell you that what is being reported to you is a far cry from the reality. Let's come down to 2 million barrels a day. Convert it at the rate of $80 to $100 or even $70 per barrel. In 1 month, on daily basis, you could be discussing between 150 to 200 million dollars daily basis. So that's the size of the booty. That's the size of the loot represented by Unitary Nigeria being shared under this alliance of 1967. If you convert 4 billion in the month, you could only be talking about $5 million at the most. And then for something in which Nigeria has to take away 200 million every day, put it across 30 days, you will then see how much 200 million times 30, even if you say $150 million times 30, that's in 1 month. But in that same 1 month, all you are doing to secure the taking away of that asset is the paltry $5 million you select who you give, and then whatever is left, the same. It was the man that became president that mobilized the ones that came to dance in Abuja the other time to show that Niger Delta is happy. That alliance of 1967, the North the southwest and renegade elements of the coastal east. Nobody is deceived. Nobody is deceived, and I tell you, it will all come crashing. If you think there's anything that will save that 1999 constitution, you better go and think more properly, because you are in error. You are building your great Nigeria on this depth of injustice. Nobody cares. You can kill the balance of them as you find. But there's only one thing: the first casualty from that brigandage, from that Nigeria that measures his success by how much he puts down a section or how much he kills a section of that country. I can tell you that that unitary Nigeria defined by this constitution will be the first casualty from your brigandage. All of you involved. That Nigeria defined by this constitution, all of those who are being destroyed, whose future had been destroyed by the unitary constitutional order you imposed, the 1967 alliance, as enabled by the class of 66. Don't think that people do not know. We know. We are not going to get into any altercations with you. Those who prefer freedom to bondage, those who prefer, who subscribe to justice and equity. Don't tell me about the justice of giving Igbo man presidency. To do what under this constitution? Peter Obi, I ask you, and all of those doing obedient movement with him, Pat Utomi and co. To do what with this constitution? And so, let those who go canvassing equity of whose turn it is, you better know that you are not on the table. The people who are on the table pass it among themselves. I've given you 7 clear episodes spanning across 55 years. We have just entered another episode, though this is not yet complete. The election is still inconclusive. We don't know who is going to emerge. But Ninas will not accept anybody coming to govern Nigeria with this constitution. We said it 3 years before the date of election, since 2020. So if you went to buy form after we said this constitution cannot remain basis of union or democracy, then you're entirely on your own. We're not interested in whatever happens to you, whether you are killed. Anybody who is prepared to swear to defend and uphold the 1999 constitution deserves every kind of calamity that can befall him and his generation, whether his candidate or his political party proprietor, because they all subscribe to that constitution, or his voter or his mobilizer, including church leaders. Anybody who is prepared to subscribe to swear to govern by and defend and uphold that constitution is the enemy of the people, is directly responsible for the killings going on to everybody or with everybody, directly responsible for the impoverishment that has happened to everybody, that will continue to happen with the kind of characters we have seen now converge in government house. Drug here, terror there, converging to manage criminal enterprise. You are all caught in that middle. And you may think, oh, my kinsman is now holding the head of the knife. I'm sorry for you. Look back and see whether there had not been there had not been somebody from your part. Obasanjo was president for 8 years. Why is he now just waking up to the fact that unless the people make a constitution they can subscribe to and defend, that Nigeria will sink? That Nigeria, there are two, not the Nigeria of not the federal Nigeria. If it is the federal, if it is Nigeria of equal partnership, if it is Nigeria of sanctity of life, if it is Nigeria of all men are born equal, the type that was agreed but immediately abandoned from Lancaster House, Nigeria was still born. Why did Awolowo go to prison? Was it not the election of independence? So Nigeria was still born. The people who say Nigeria will be great again, what do you know about that Nigeria? If you can't go to the constitution that defines the Nigeria and defines what happens to the people inside it. That's why a country with the kind of endowments we have is trailing from the back, from behind on all aspects of human development. Everything good, we are behind. Everything bad, we are in front. Why is this so? Why can't people with education interrogate the situation? It is our turn to be president. Then some even go to the ridiculous, okay, if they can't be president, let us, if you don't give us vice president, give us a senate presidency. Shame on all of you. Shame on all of you who are not interested in addressing the cause of the woes of the community. You want to go and take, your part of the cake. That cake has been poisoned. All of you who gather now to think you are coming to share a national cake, since you have no nation and you want to share national cake, just be informed that that cake is poisoned as it is. That cake is poisoned. Those who are being kept out of it are being preserved from the toxic, the fatal consequences of going to feed on the blood of the innocent. That's what you are all doing. Whether you come from the east or the west or the north, that is the owner of the whole enterprise. But that 1967 alliance should know very clearly that the constitution you imposed as victory charter from the war in which you killed over 3 million, anything between 3 and 5 million, because by Gowon's account, he said they killed 5 million people to preserve Nigeria in the Unitary State. It is to this date. So it is that alliance of 1967 that imposed that unitary constitution, and they are still the ones, carrying on with arrogance and insulting people and killing others in their attempt to sustain Nigeria by force. Those for whom that Nigeria is not their project, and I am one of them, we owe it a duty to bring that unitary Nigeria to death. That constitution 1999 is going down. Everything anchored on it, everything created by it, everything mandated by it will go down. We then choose whether we want to do it under a roof, settle what will replace it under a roof, like South Africa did with apartheid constitution, or unilateral, self-propelling. You don't need to organize anybody who is being killed is going to fight back. So don't think that anybody is going to organize riot and say, let us Nigeria. That Nigeria of unitary Nigeria is of no interest to those who have to be slaves in their homeland. It must come to an end. We stop here.